Boyfriend might propose soon, but can this work if I'm monogamous and he's not? Looking for input from people who are/have been swingers. I'm 29F in a 3-year relationship with 36M. He has hinted a few times at marriage, but there is one thing holding me back. About 6 months into our relationship, he revealed to me that him and his ex-wife had tried swinging a few times starting a year into their marriage and then a few times over the 7 years they were together. I didn't know much about the lifestyle, so I started listening to some swinger-hosted podcasts and looking into it more to see if it was a lifestyle I could ever consider. For him, he said it was an exciting, hot thing about the relationship, there was healthy communication, and that it made them, he and ex, stronger and less likely to ever want to cheat. After some deep inner reflection, I realized it wasn't something I wanted for myself. There are many reasons, but one of the bigger ones is I'm ace/demisexual. I only experience sexual attraction through deep bonds. So having sex with people who I don't have a strong relationship with doesn't sound fun or hot for me. And I don't want to share my partner. So I guess also because I'm clearly monogamous with that kind of mindset, lol. In bed, he began sharing more and more his fantasy about taking me to a swingers club, and since it was during steamy time, I went along with his fantasy, responded positively. It's natural to share fantasies in bed, and even if not my thing, I believe in letting my partner play out a fantasy. But he started suggesting it outside of then bedroom casually, and once I came to the conclusion that it wasn't for me, I talked with him, around month 9. I shared my concern that since swinging is his one big fantasy, and thing that he has enjoyed doing in the past, could we ever have a future where he still is satisfied if it wasn't my thing? He was very understanding and sweet and assured me that he could be happy without a swingers relationship. For a year I felt pretty solid with his response. But as it continues to be his only fantasy that he shares in bed, it is hard for me to fully believe that he'll be happy marrying me. The other day he started talking in bed about how he was turned on by a thought he had. I asked him to share, and he said he pictured me giving another guy a blow-end job. I asked if he was doing anything to me in this fantasy or just watching. He said that there was another girl going down on him while I'm with the other guy. I know it's his kink, but it's hard for me to hear from that he's dreaming of another girl pleasuring him while he's currently having sex with me, and that is what turned him on in the first place. He brings up swinging in about 2/5 of our sex encounters. I have had 2 previous partners, and they were more of the "you're the only one for me" kind of guys, and it made me feel special. So when he does this, I end up feeling like I'm not enough. I know it's a monogamous mindset, and my own insecurity. I share my insecurity about not being sexually enough for him, but I avoid saying it's because of those things he says in bed, because then he wouldn't be able to live out that kink at all, and I don't want to take that away from him. He is very open about all the things he and his ex-wife did, and I like that he feels comfortable to share without thinking I'll shame him or get upset. But honestly, it makes me feel lacking. He used to have 3 ways, do swaps, and basically all of his biggest kinks he got to play out in real life. With me, he can't. I truly love him and we're happy in every other sense. We have now lived together for a year and he wants me in his whole future. My question for anyone in this community: if you happen to fall for a monogamous person, do you think you could be satisfied leaving the life, or would you possibly regret or resent marrying down the road? Or just have any thoughts to share in general? Anything might help me work my way to a conclusion. He and his ex only did it a couple times a year, and it wasn't that big a part of their life, but a very happy one. I ask you because I can't speak to it with my friends. I think they'd form a bad view of him because they are all monogamous and probably would see it as him being driven by lust and not loving/respecting me. You guys have a different mindset on love and sex, and I'm hoping for any insight or suggestions of how and if this can work long term. Updating because I've had a few people in my DMs over the months asking how it worked out because they're in similar situations. We did break up a few months after my post. I had showed him my original post and talked with him about the unsureness I had been feeling. His response was, "Sure, if tomorrow you told me you wanted to swing, I'd be all for it. But I don't need that in our relationship." Despite his words, over the next few months our relationship felt off. Both of us were no longer comfortable, it seemed, mentioning marriage anymore, and while we were still enjoying each other's company and traveling and doing things we loved, the love and security feeling wasn't there. I would bring up that we didn't seem as connected, but he would say it was my anxiety talking in my head. We went to a Halloween party with our friends who are all in their 30s to 40s and been married anywhere from 5 to 15 years. The couple who was hosting the party were mid-30s with 3 kids. At the party, the husband, I'll call him Trey, started flirting heavily with all the girls. He was very drunk, most of us were at some level of intoxication, and was being very touchy-feely. This was extremely unusual behavior for him. His wife, who I'll call Kayla, seemed a bit embarrassed, but was also giving us the okay with what was going on. We could tell to some degree they must be opening up their relationship in some way. Well, towards the end of the night, Trey began to make out heavily with a girl in the corner of the pool who had been invited by them, but the rest of us had never met before. Her husband was socializing nearby, but he knew what was happening, so we all just shrugged it off as consenting adults and whatnot. However, when Kayla came outside, it became obvious she wasn't okay with what she saw. She and Trey disappeared from their own party for a while, and we all were wondering if we might need to head home and give them privacy. They came outside though, and we could tell Kayla wasn't okay. Trey started apologizing publicly to everyone and said, "We've gotten into swinging, but it's very new for us." Kayla and I promised we would not do things with others without one of us clearly giving the okay. We invited this couple over tonight with potential plans of going further with them. I fucked up and started initiating deeper while Kayla was inside the house and unaware and not present. Kayla privately later apologized to us, saying she had not planned on our group knowing they were swinging and had wanted to keep it private. So when Trey had started flirting with everyone and being touchy-feely in general, she had felt embarrassed that we were all so thrown of last this party she had hosted for us. And then when she had come outside to him already initiating with the couple they had invited, it had broken the boundaries she had set with him. I left the party upset for her. In my mind, Trey had cheated by breaking that boundary, and in front of everyone who she had not wanted to know about their open relationship. This is her one friend group she has, and I could understand not wanting to share that part of their lives with us since most the group is monogamous. My boyfriend's response was, "Yeah, he fucked up, but this is new for him and it's like a kid in a candy shop." I mentioned to him how he had once said that a benefit of swinging was less likely to have cheating in a relationship. But that to me this felt like cheating, because if you set a boundary and break it with another person, that counts. It was a tense ride home. The next time we had sex, in the middle of it he started bringing up me kissing Kayla. And then him kissing Kayla. I didn't want to bring up this upset me while having sex because I just didn't know how. People pleaser in me hates making people feel awkward or bad in the moment. So I brought it up an hour afterward that him bringing up Kayla didn't feel right, especially after how that party had gone. He didn't argue about it and said okay, but I could see from his shut-down facial expression he wasn't happy with my response. Next time we say Trey and Kayla, they had the couple from the party over at a board game night. Looks like they had worked things out and I was happy for them. They were very flirty and kissing on the other couple, and while it was still strange and new to see, I was happy they were happy. I was having a fun time with everyone, but I could tell my boyfriend was very moody and everyone kept asking him if he was okay. In the middle of a board game I had just started up with some friends, he came in and interrupted very moodily, "You ready to go?" On the car ride home I asked what was up, and he was pretty shut down. It clicked with me he was jealous of the swinging happening in front of him. When I asked him if that's what it was, he said I wouldn't say jealous. I asked what would he say. B said he'd get back to me on it when he could put it into words. So I dropped it for then. But a few days pass and he wasn't showing signs of opening the conversation, and my anxiety started to grow until finally I brought it up again. He said, "It's just hard to see what I can't have right in front of me." To which I responded, "It's hard for me to see you mad and moody about it because I know I'm the reason why. I'm the one keeping you from it. You say I'm enough, but then you do things that make me feel like I'm not really. Please be honest with me." He went back to saying I was, and that it was my anxiety saying that. I asked what we can do to make our relationship work better because this wasn't working. He mentioned I could initiate more in bed. I could understand that. While I'm a very responsive partner who never has turned down sex, I am not often the initiator. So I tried doing that and he turned me down 5 separate occasions for reasons like, "You just vaped and I don't like vaping because it leaves a sweet artificial taste on your mouth," he hates vapes a lot. Or, "I'm stressed with work." There was one night he was jacking off in the shower and I asked if I could join, and he said he'd come to the bed, but I said I'd just get in the shower with him. I'd worked out and felt gross, but he said he wasn't interested in shower sex, so never mind. I could get his reasons, but it left me vulnerable because initiating has always been hard for me, and to keep getting turned down after he'd asked me to try it more was hard. Then one night he said, "Take charge, do whatever you want with me, don't be shy about it, whatever you want to do to me just do it." I started giving him a blow-end job, but to stall because I was panicking in my head of what did he want, because I felt like he was looking for me to do something particular. I've never been super shy in bed, so when he said those words I felt like he was hoping for something new or different in particular. Climbing on top and doing the basic dirty talk didn't seem like enough for what he was asking. I stopped to tell him because I'd never felt panicked during sex like this. I said, "Hey, I know you want me to take charge, but is there something specific you'd like?" He got frustrated and said, "Just be dominating like I do for you." Well, what he does for me is choking and ass-smacking and name-calling, but he has never expressed interest in that for himself, and I didn't think that's what he actually wanted. So I asked, "Is there a video of what you want from me or specifics, because I don't want to dominate without knowing what it is you mean." He let out a frustrated sigh and said never mind. I felt pretty crestfallen as a people pleaser and said I'm gonna go get some air real quick. I went downstairs and went to Reddit to search how to dominate your man and get ideas and give myself a pep talk, lol. I came back upstairs and heard him in the shower. So I opened the door to hop in and give it a go and realized he'd already jacked off after I'd left. I awkwardly got out of the shoes and cursed myself on awkwardness. LOL. Looking back, I can't help but laugh at myself at trying to make it work with the wrong person. Let's just jump forward to the breakup because this post is already so damn long. I sat him down and said we're disconnected and not okay lately. And you say you want me, but I don't feel that from you, so I get the feeling you don't know what you want. He admitted he wasn't sure and needed time. So I said, after 3 years, if you don't know, that's the answer I need. I know we love each other, but we need to break up, this isn't it. He looked stunned. He began crying hard and asked me to stay in the same bed that night to hold me one last time. He cried the whole night while I comforted him, and he kept saying, I know it isn't fair for you to have to comfort me like this, but thank you because I need you right now. And also things like, I've been an idiot because I thought some things were important and then this happens and I see what's actually important. He began asking for another chance and I said I wasn't sure I could give that because I'd lost trust in his love for me. He said he'd prove it back with time. Well, in under a month he said, in bed this month we're doing anal and we're going to a sex club. I was cool with part 1, but not so much part 2, but gave him the benefit of the doubt that the second part was his fantasy in bed since he knew my limits at this point. But he brought it up again next time we were in bed and I stopped him and said, we are at the weakest point of our relationship that we've ever been, and you really want to bring a sex club with other people into the mix? It finalized for me the ending of us. And I'm so glad I did. Looking back, I can't believe I stayed as long as I did because while he has the right to want what he wants, it was clear he wasn't being honest with himself. He wants to be a swinger and that's okay. Just don't date a monogamous person and pretend otherwise. It was just hurting us both. I definitely grew from it because it made me realize what I wanted and needed in someone too. A year has passed and I am so happy and in love with the right person. My anxiety has magically disappeared, go figure. I feel like enough as a partner in every way. He's lighthearted, easy as breathing, and would do anything to make me happy. Which is great because I'm a giver too, so we never run the risk of using each other. He cherishes me and I cherish him, and I didn't even know love could be this awesome. It's corny, I know. But for anyone out there that is wondering if you're with the right person, if you have to keep wondering and if you always feel like you're not enough, please be brave enough to leave what you know and go be happy elsewhere.
Relevant comments. Horror, paper, 6574. First of all, none of this is normal swinging behavior. Trey and Kayla are fucking idiots. Trey is a cheater and massively dismissive of his wife's boundaries and feelings at a vanilla party. I know this isn't the purpose of this post, but they brought you into their sex life without your permission by engaging in swinging in front of you, again, at a vanilla party. And your boyfriend's, it's no big deal, response was horrific. Breaking your spouse's boundaries is a very big deal. A huge one. In fact, if my husband, or myself, had done that, we'd have completely stopped swinging and refocused on our marriage. I'm so glad you two realized your relationship couldn't work. Your ex was a giant, walking red flag, and not a good representation of a swinger who wants a healthy and respectful relationship.
OP. Completely agree with everything you said. I didn't go into it since it didn't pertain to the story, but later Kayla and Trey and the couple they chose got real messy because the girl in the other couple set her boundaries of not forming too much emotion because they'd started buying each other's kids gifts and just becoming more than what she wanted. When she tried to pull back, her husband and Kayla continued to communicate in private. Almost ended 2 marriages. Messy all around and not what swinging is meant to be, but what happens when a couple isn't respectful of partners' boundaries and put their own interests first before their marriage. It's why I never liked my ex's phrase that swinging prevents cheating. Cheaters are cheaters in any relationship, monogamous or not. My ex said he and his ex-wife had great communication and a healthy swinging relationship. And maybe that was the truth since they were on the same page and never faced a conflict in the time they were together. But I'm glad I didn't marry him or immediately agree to try swinging with him because seeing how he handled not getting what he wanted revealed plenty of red flags and terrible communication. I hope for the sake of who he ends up with next that he has worked on himself a bit because no one needs that energy in a relationship or in the swinger community in general.